Here's my one-liner on the purpose of Revelation. John shows us how Revelation is a message of hope about faithful discipleship in this world, not about decoding a rapture or an antichrist out of this world. Now, with that unpacked, here are 3 things that you need to know about Revelation to help me break this book down for you. Number 1, Revelation is primarily about what is in this world, not of this world. Often when we think about Revelation, we think about what will happen out of this world. We often actually just think of what we commonly call the rapture. But here's the thing. The rapture is not mentioned once in Revelation, meaning that this is actually not the thrust of Revelation. And the reason why is John would have told you in the introduction if it was. So what is Revelation about? Revelation is about what is in this world and faithful discipleship to Jesus and the hope of what God will bring to this earth. Which leads me to my second point. Revelation is both past and future tense. This throws most people off, but often we think Revelation is about the future, but it's actually about both past and present tense. For example, the Emperor Nero was an oppressive Roman emperor in the time that this book was being written. So when we get numbers like 666, which also mostly actually translates better into the Greek to 616, that number was actually associated with the Emperor Nero, which is really just past tense. So it's basically given like a hat off to being like, hey, this is happening. Like, we understand this is happening. The people in this church would have understood that. That's like me saying number 97. Most people would think. And in hockey, that's attributing to Connor McDavid. So we also just see another one is in Revelation 18. We learn about the fall of Babylon. And if you read the history of Rome in 476 AD, it is verbatim of what Revelation describes what will happen for the fall of Babylon in chapter 18. Which we learn the fall of Babylon is the fall of Rome. So here's what I'm trying to get at. Often we only think that Revelation is futuristic, which yes, it absolutely has those elements. But we learn that as both past and future, revealing that God has rule over all time, both past, present, and future tense. So what I'm trying to say is this, that Revelation is not a code, it's symbolic, which leads me to my final point, that it is not a code, it is symbolic. See, other things that many people go wrong when they use Revelation is they actually try to find secret predictions of modern events that are happening. But the thing is that Revelation is not meant to be broken down by closely analyzing every single verse and details in the genre. But actually, the way that apocalyptic literature reads is for us to connect the big picture together. Let me describe it this way. If you watched a play, and you went to the play and you watched a 55-minute play, for example, 55 minutes, let's go with that. When you watch it, you think of the entire story arc. You go from beginning to end and you try to understand what was the thrust, what was the essence of this story. You don't analyze every single second and watch what's the side character with a tree over their head doing for one moment. You don't watch that. But what you do really analyze and key into is the overall picture. For example, the beast in Revelation is not necessarily one person. So we don't need to figure out if the beast is Justin Trudeau, Donald Trump, or Elon Musk. It's not that at all. Revelation describes the beast symbolically, representing oppressive governments and systems. That's it. That's what it describes. A unique thing to note, though, in Revelation and in apocalyptic literature is literary devices exist all the time. Now, that's a very confusing word, so let's pause there. All what literary devices means is a writer is using big words to make the writing more memorable. For example, if I saw someone wrote to me, "I am dying in embarrassment, Will." Does this mean that the person who wrote to me is dying? No, it just means that they're really embarrassed. So language like this in Revelation is used all the time, which means we actually need to be careful when we read things, not to jump on it quickly and be like, this is precisely what happens. I have decoded everything. That is not true. For example, in Revelation 1:15, we read, "His voice was like a roar of many waters." Does this actually mean that? No. All what it's describing is the power and authority of Jesus. And then the last thing on this point is in the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus says, nobody will know the time of my return, not even me. So here's what I'm trying to get at. Revelation is not meant to be decoded. So those are three helpful things to know when we get into this book. But as we keep reading, Scholar Gordon Fee has this really helpful word on us understanding Revelation today. Fee says this: stepping into Revelation from the rest of the New Testament is to enter into strange, bizarre new world. And this is even true in the days of Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. Instead of narratives, arguments, or plain statements of fact, the Revelation is full of angels, trumpets, earthquakes, strange beasts, dragons, and bottomless pits. Most believers therefore take one of two extremes. They simply avoid it in despair, and others take an exaggerated interest in it, thinking to find here are the keys to the end of the world. Both of these positions, Fee says, I would argue, are simply wrong. So, moving on here, you need to hear this closely. Revelation is not meant to be read as a detailed prophecy of the events that are leading up to the end of our world in the 21st century. But we need to find a balance of reading Revelation responsibly,